Support me on Patreon, patreon.com/mtgbooks. Chapter 9. Teferi's Realm. Baron soared through the skies over coastal Zalfir. The day was sultry. Clouds stood in steamy stacks all around. Lurking among them were 3 more portals, newly opened. Soon, drifting black racks of Phyrexian armor would appear. Then, there would be death in Zalfir, as there was in Benalia. Baron's Metathran fleet had been crushed in Benalia. Only a small squad of hoppers had survived. The rest had sacrificed themselves downing cruisers and debilitating plague ships. The Sarans had fared better, though 1 in 2 angels had been killed. At last, Baron and his troops had fought near enough to the portal that he could send his healing magic into the wound in the sky. He sealed it and ended the air battle, but was utterly spent in the effort. He and his last fighters had withdrawn to the next aerial rendezvous. The Sarans soared to their eyries to regroup. For Baron, there was an all-too-brief night of study and sleep before the next battle opened above distant Zalfir, another powerful source of white mana. He teleported to the western point that he knew well. The Battle of Zalfir would unfold just as the Battle of Benalia had, too few defenders flinging themselves in suicidal fury against too many attackers. Such had always been the model for Urza's battles. For Urza, survivability was not as important as victory. One of these days, Urza will orchestrate a battle that even I can't survive, Baron thought grimly. Topping a long slope of sawgrass, Baron glimpsed the battle on the fields beyond. A portal gaped wide in the sky. It was black and ragged among clouds, as though some jealous god had gripped the heavens and ripped a hole in them. From that black tear emerged cruisers, plague ships, dragon engines, and a new class of sleek bowed vessels, dagger boats. Fighters filled the air like wasps, buzzing around the droning hulls of larger ships. "Urza and I against an armada," Baron said, clucking. He had spoken too soon. Someone had brought defenders to the field. Amazing, powerful, glorious defenders. Figures played on the wide plains amid shrubs and fruit trees. In their draping white robes they seemed children, hands and heads upraised as though guiding kites through the skies. In fact, they were archmages. Above them moved gossamer, streaming sorceries, mist-moon griffins and giant eagles, angel warriors and armored pegasi. These were summoned creatures, ideals made material. Alabaster dragons and dusk rider falcons, winged paladins and flying unicorns. They were guided in their battles from below. White talons tore dagger boats to shreds. Angelic swords clove ray cannons from their embrasures. Griffin beaks plucked ballista bolts from the sky and rammed them back into the swarming ships. Even unicorn horns were put to their original use, the merciless goring of the despoiled. Phyrexians died in their thousands. So too did these summoned creatures, but they were not true beings. They were ideas given flesh and blood for a time, granted the will to fight, and ideas never died. Baron smiled. This was the battle of a fairer mind than Urza's. White ideals clashed against black realities and steadily won. On a ridge overlooking the savannah stood Urza and that fairer mind, Teferi. It was a strange tableau. Teferi stood to the fore, gazing out at his sorceress army. In his manifold blue robes, the black-skinned man seemed taller than Urza, bolder, more powerful. One of Teferi's feet was poised on a stone. He leaned avidly toward the battle and spoke in rapid, exited tones. Urza, meanwhile, stood behind. He never stood behind. His feet were planted like fence posts. His hands hung empty and idle at his sides. Baron allowed himself a laugh at his old friend's expense. Urza was never so miserable as when someone else was in control. Spreading his war cloak like wings of settling hawk, Baron swooped down to light on the arid hilltop. The rustling robes drew the eyes of the two men upward. Urza's gaze was both nettled and pleading. Teferi's was triumphant. The tall, ebony-skinned man smiled broadly and extended his hand to shake Baron's. "Aha! Pleasure to see you again. And so soon." "A pleasure!" hissed Urza in exasperation. "Welcome, Master Baron, to Zalfir." Baron studied the extended hand with feigned caution before grabbing it. "No shocking grasp, it's almost a letdown, Teferi. Still, it's nice to know you haven't reverted to your old tricks." Teferi shook his head vigorously. "Only new tricks, Master Baron. Plenty of new ones." "He won't let us help," Urza blurted in place of a greeting. "Won't let?" Baron echoed incredulously. He searched Urza's queer eyes, looking for signs of humor. It was a futile search. Teferi's eyes brimmed with joy. "It's not that I won't let you both help, just not Master Urza alone. No offense, if Talaria taught me anything, it taught me that Urza is a danger to himself and everyone else unless he's working with his lab partner." "Which would be me?" Baron said through tight lips. The two masters of Talaria traded rueful looks. Teferi had always been a bright, good-hearted troublemaker, just what Baron and Urza needed. "Well, I'm here now. How can we help?" Teferi took a glad breath, stroking his chin and looking out at his proud forces. "That's a good question. The Mage Corps of Zalfir seems to have things well in hand." "Impressive," Baron said. "I've never seen spells used this way before." "Phoenix Flocks," Teferi said. "Innovation of mine. Keeps the battle in the air, keeps the casualties to Phyrexians. Our warriors are all creatures of fancy, ideas battling monsters. It's very appealing to me." Baron watched tracers of white mana magic rise, slim and graceful. From a mage on the dusty field, the power spread outward, blossoming into a great spectral eagle the size of a mammoth. Its wings swept out, they could cover whole companies. With a shrieking cry that raked the heavens, the enormous raptor crashed into a Phyrexian cruiser. Pinions of pure energy enveloped the ship. The bird's figure disintegrated. Lines of magic limbed every hackled spine and barbed strut of the ship. The lines solidified into unbreakable cords of power. They constricted inward. The shimmering white force cut beneath the armor plates. Sliced bulwarks and causeways. Sparks showered from the cut marks. "Why don't they simply land, crushing your forces?" Baron asked. "Well, watch," Teferi replied quietly. The cruiser that had been overwhelmed by the spectral eagle began to disintegrate. Sections of the ship cut loose and tumbled away. Strangely, though, the pieces did not plummet toward the savannah. Instead, they rose, tumbling into the air. Some of the hucks impacted Phyrexian ships above. Sharp wedges lodged in the bellies of the craft. No, not the bellies. Only then did Baron realize that all the Phyrexian ships floated upside down in the sky. "It's a simple but powerful enchantment, reversing the pull of Dominaria," Teferi said. "It's a time field effect, like those I learned on Talaria. In backward time, the world repels rather than attract objects. Meteors leap into the sky, feet are propelled away from the ground, and instead of stumbling, drunkards vault upright. I've extracted that single vector of movement and acted it in a broad space above the plane. My sorcerers can stand on the ground, but 100 yards above their heads, gravity reverses itself. Those ships are laboring toward the ground just as they would labor in the air. If any of them actually neared the envelope of the reversion field, they'd plunge to their destruction." Above the massed fleet of Phyrexian ships ascended into the wrecks of hundreds of other vessels. They rose into Empyrean spaces. Many had been dismantled by Teferi's Phoenix Flocks. Others had met more mundane ends. A cruiser halfway out of the portal flipped violently over. It veered, crashing into a nearby plague ship. Beyond them, another cruiser unleashed its battery of black mana guns on a flock of angels. In a topsy-turvy field, though, the muck spattered a nearby squadron of dagger ships. They cascaded into the sky. Even plague spores, even the dead, did not fall toward the ground. "It's interesting what difference a single inversion can make." Teferi noted blandly. He cocked an eye at Urza. "It's the benefit of having a sense of humor. I'm used to thinking of what things would look like when they're flipped over. Funny, mostly. In this case, flipping stuff over makes it look really lovely." He gazed at the cyclone of wrecked ships heading skyward. Baron sighed. "I think he's right." "I have a sense of humor," Urza interrupted testily. "No, not about that," Baron soothed. "I think he's right that he doesn't need us." "That's not what I said," Teferi broke in. "It's a simple spell, but it's a draining one. Eventually one of those ships will crash on Zalfir and contaminate it. I need your help to shut down the portal." At last! Reason! Fumed Urza Planeswalker. What do you suggest? It's a simple enough principle. We planeswalk into the portal. Won't work! Urza growled. Wrath is warded against us. We don't planeswalk to Wrath. We planeswalk into the portal and then back out again. We repeat the process until the spatial temporal fluxes melt the thing down. The backlash will kill us, Urza said. It'll kill us and everything in a 100-mile radius. I've worked out a spell to draw off the energies, a most impressive spell. I can personally vouch for the safety of my people. Oh, and you'll survive too, Urza. I thought you said you needed me for this operation, Baron reminded him. Teferi's smile was the brightest so far. I need you to shame him into it. Eyes blazing and face as red as a campfire, Urza barked. Let's walk, pupil! The two planeswalkers traded looks. Something of Urza's solemnity entered Teferi's features, and something of Teferi's cockiness infused Urza. Abruptly, they were both gone. Only the dry weeds remained. The pair flashed again into being and simultaneously out. It was as though they were mere boys racing for the waterhole. A capricious light shone in their eyes when they next appeared. Above, Baron could see why. The portal seemed to be boiling. The energies in that black space crisscrossed and reversed, warring against each other. Surges of black energy tore into coils of red power. White sparks and blue-green shafts of force battled for predominance. Grinding teeth of magic chewed an emerging cruiser into shreds. It belched smoke downward and rained ruin up. Faster they flashed, and faster their grins only deepened. Baron shook his head, smiling also. A light awoke, a blinding thing. A new sun was born above Dominaria. It flashed, casting the fleet's shadows on the plains below. Whatever ship still labored in the air ceased its struggles, plunging upward like ash in the heat of a fire. Baron winced back. The whole hillside of all Zalfir could be consumed by that sudden blaze. Then it was done. Neither blinding fire nor black portal shone in the sky. Neither Phyrexian fleet nor phoenix flocks circled there. The sorcerers on the Zalfir Mage Corps stood on the plain, eyes lifted heavenward and hands applauding. It was as though they had just watched a fireworks show. What happened? Baron wondered aloud. Come, said Teferi simply, appearing out of nowhere to grasp Baron's arms and drag him away in a spontaneous planeswalk. The world folded around Baron, spinning into chaos. As quickly as Zalfir had flashed away, it returned, though now a mile below. Baron floated in blue skies beside Urza Planeswalker and Teferi of Zalfir. Very impressive, Baron rasped. Very, very impressive. Where did you put the energy? Urza asked suspiciously. Teferi shrugged. I put it away for another spell. Urza cleared his throat, exactly the sound he had made as Teferi's headmaster. Well, now that we have helped you save Zalfir, you must help us save the world. Save Zalfir? The dark-skinned man echoed. You think closing a single portal makes Zalfir safe in this worldwide conflagration? Safer than most places, Urza replied evenly. But safety isn't the issue. Defeat of the Phyrexians is. Teferi nodded. All the joking had gone from his face. This is where you and I differ, Master. Safety is the issue. You've never wanted to save your people. You've only wanted to defeat your foes. Mishra, Gix, Crick, now Yawgmoth himself. You'd sacrifice us all if you knew it would doom him. I am willing to sacrifice myself to defeat Yawgmoth, Urza replied solemnly. I have neither sympathy nor patience for others who are not. The old, cocky Teferi had returned. As I said, Master, this is where we differ. You can't save your people, not single-handed, Urza said. Oh, I don't do it single-handed. I've had the aid of thousands and the consent of millions. You yourself helped me harness the final measure of power to complete the spell. It's triggering us even now. Below, Zalfir shuddered. Something passed over it. Not over it, but through it. The same energies that had boiled through the doomed portal now shot through the land. Every rill was lined in scarlet ribbons of energy. Every field was sketched in shimmering white. The shorelines flashed waves of blue fire, and the veins of every woodland leaf glowed green. Then all was subsumed in a great colorless grid, as though the land and the plants, the animals and the people were being caught in a vast blueprint. If spells can make ideas into reality, they can make reality into ideas, Teferi said quietly. The transformation picked out every mote of Zalfir. Lines fused, grids merged. For one dazzling moment, all the colors combined into a blinding radiance. With a flash, Zalfir was gone. Where it had been, only a red after-image remained in Baron's eyes. Then came a boom like 100,000 thunderbolts in synchrony. Baron blinked, struggling to see. Winds tore past him, but Teferi's magic held him in place. The red glow where Zolfir had been faded to black, a black wound the size of the great landmass. It was bedrock. Teferi had taken the whole peninsula, a mile of air above it and a mile of rock beneath. The ocean stood for a moment in astonished walls all around. Then its green rim turned white. Water cascaded into the deep gash. The belly of the ocean slumped. The first gush smashed to the bedrock and churned eagerly out across dry stone. The head of the flood was overtopped by new waves, which crowded the shoulders of the slumping water and poured into the cauldron. Urza gazed in silent consternation at the churning sea. Baron gaped. "What did you do?" "I saved my people. They dwell now in immutable ideas," explained Teferi. "You killed them?" Baron stammered. "No. They'll return when the world is safe again. For them, not a moment will have passed." "There will be tidal waves," Urza said darkly. "Thousands will die." "Millions have been saved," Teferi replied. "This is how I save my people. This is how you and I differ." "Yes," Urza replied. "This is how we differ."